Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us for another Wednesdays with Wynton. Wynton Marsalis will be joining us in just a moment for a casual Q&A here live on Instagram. Thanks for joining us again for another week. I think this is week 12 or 13. Kind of crazy. This will be, after this episode, we're going on a brief Wednesdays with Wynton hiatus for the summer. We'll hopefully be back in September. And until then, we have a ton of really exciting programming we'll be announcing in the next week or so. So stay tuned for that. And in a moment, Wynton will be joining us. And before he does, if you want to comment your name and where you're tuning in from, and start commenting any questions you have for Wynton. Hey, Wynton.
All right, now what's going on, Maddie? What you talking about?
Well, I wanted to kick things off talking about we are just about to announce this little Instagram Live exclusive for everyone tuning in, what Jazz Lincoln Center's energy output and intention is going to be for the month of July, which is the idea, spirit, and meaning of freedom. So I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about that.
Well, just very important aspect of our music. We always hear about the freedom of improvisation, and just something that since jazz was born, it's always been a key component of the music. So many great musicians involved in it down through the centuries. Also, the responsibility implied in freedom. We see people exercising that responsibility all over the world. That in the First Amendment of the Constitution, it's implied that you have to have some type of disagreement to address before elected officials, and it's important to bring your case before the people and make it be for real, and to not don't be turned around. You know, it's an important thing. And as we see, by the way, the world has picked up on our own situation. Don't feel that everything that is a protest means violence or means something negative. That's just something to take you away from looking at the issue and trying to create a better life for everybody. And let's not forget how new the thought of things being equitable is. You know, it's only a few centuries old. So it's something that we have to continue to pursue. And we're going to have a lot of different things, music we're going to put out, readings, and things from many sides of the ballpark. People tend to think of freedom meaning only them. You know, the thing about freedom is once you turn it loose, it goes everywhere. You don't control who's going to seek their freedom or the tenor of the conversation. But it is important for us to remain in dialogue with this most important thing. I always would tell my friends down through the years, laughing, let's have the same intensity of this we have about the championship or some football games. And I'm a sports fanatic, but freedom is damn sure more important than the last game. So, you know, and it won't all come from one angle, because there's going to be many people with different opinions and different viewpoints, all encouraged in our family to create works, to talk about it, to suggest readings. And it will not only be one opinion or one point of view.
Well, I know I'm very excited, and I had a little preview of what's to come. So I can't wait for everyone to hear to see it, and everyone stay tuned. We'll be announcing some exciting things coming up, all to do with the idea and theme and spirit of freedom. And on that note, I wanted to bring up something interesting. So the ideas in the U.S. Constitution are relevant to the world of jazz as well, right? A group of diverse musicians negotiating in time to create a collective expression that reflects unique personalities and values of each individual, and for the good of everyone. So as the nation goes into the holiday weekend, can you speak more on both, as a citizen and as a jazz musician, speak more on that, on what people should, maybe headspace should be, or just on that in general?
You know, jazz is always it came from what was called now street expression, but that's not necessarily what it was. The street was different at that time, but it came from always that kind of desire for a richer democracy. Even somebody like Jelly Roll Morton was really hated because he wanted his publishing rights, and he would talk about things, and he started clubs, and you know, so any flaw in his personality was picked up on to define him. But if we go through the history of the music of musicians of all races, we will find that the most active musicians have always produced music with a certain type of reality. It doesn't mean other people's music is not good or that this is the only subject you should discuss. But I think that jazz, yeah, the improvisation is our freedom, but the swing is our responsibility. So one thing we laugh about in the Jazz Lincoln Center Orchestra, people spent their lifetime improvising. We play gigs, you might solo one time a night. So when you get down to the end, it's like, here's another gig that somebody who could play did not play. And the democracy is how we share our space. And the one thing I'm most proud of in our development is that as we've gone along these years, when we get to the last 2 or 3 tunes, everybody in the band starts to look around and try to figure out who hasn't played to create space for them, even if it means giving up their solo. So, you know, it's I've learned more just from the orchestra, seeing how we negotiate each other's space. And I think a good document for us to read in this time is Thomas Paine's Common Sense. It's only 80 pages, 1773 or 4, not 1778 or 1970. I don't know exactly. I'm not Phil Schaff, so I'm not exactly right with these dates. And you know, it's a Federalist document, and it talks about avoiding the corruption of kings, and to try to understand the true democracy is with the plurality of the people. And this is a great moment in our reflection to go in our history and study great documents and important things. And I always try to direct people to, you know, more profound kind of thinking, and the people who, things that will help you to understand from any side of the field. Because there's enough people talking in one direction. And it's also important for us to remember that Lyndon Johnson gave a speech in America called "We Shall Overcome." And that would be like Trump saying Black Lives Matter. That's the effect that it had on the nation, because he was a Southern politician from Texas. And I'll never forget, my father told me when he saw Lyndon Johnson get elected, he thought, well, there goes the civil rights movement. He didn't understand at that time that Southern politician was going to sign key civil rights legislation and give that type of speech to the nation. So I also direct people to Lyndon Johnson's speech. I think it's 1965. I'm not good with my years today, but it's the speech is called "We Shall Overcome." It's up online. It's worth reading. You can cherry pick it and read it and pick things that you like. Look at those last few paragraphs, though. You think it was written for today?
That's and on that same note too, in the context of jazz and democracy, what's the right amount of tension?
There's no right amount, because tension is not something you control. That's the thing about what is the right amount. There's no right amount. I can't. That's the beauty of it. You can try to balance so if there's a whole pile of tension coming your way, you can try to figure out how to. And I always give sports analogies. You know, people hate them, but because there's a quarterback stand in front of a defense and say, "Wait a second, now it's too much of a pass rush, or it's too." Hey, if they can bring some pressure, you better try to figure out how you're going to deal with it. And if you have something you believe in, bring some pressure to the situation. You know, and the more tension, the more it means to people. You know.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, no. You go. You please.
No,
Please
I mean,
go.
you know, we have to realize that competition is not because there is competition for ideas, for resources, for space. Because there's competition does not mean someone is your enemy. But when you're playing a game and there's no competition and you're just beating on, I mean, it's like, I remember once a great chess grandmaster Maurice Ashley beat me in a game. You know, I mean, I can't really play. I try to play, but did he want to play another game? For what? It's like, no, he has to play somebody this competitive. So when we look around our nation and we see groups of people who are put in non-competitive situations, don't keep beating them. I mean, it's just, you know, we have a long way to go. And in jazz, we see the greatest figures. We talked about Jelly Roll. We could talk about Louis Armstrong and realize that just for Louis Armstrong to introduce himself as, "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Mr. Armstrong." That was a civil rights statement at that time, because that meant not boy or the other names that he would be called. Or with, of course, Duke Ellington, Black, Brown, and Beige. And it goes on. And I always give it people of all races. Dave Brubeck, The Real Ambassadors, all of these works are important. And even the musicians who are doing things today, all of these works are important. Even in works that are not even jazz, whether you like the style of music or not, when people have a civil rights type of social consciousness, it's important to check it out. and you can choose whether you're interested in it or not. You know, it's your choice. But this is a good time for this. It's around the election. It's a good. We got a pandemic. We got a lot of crisis, a lot of problems going on. This is a good time to examine who we are, and for us to come home and see who we want to be and make the changes we need to make, and tear the Band-Aid off and be for real about it.
And I think that's a powerful thing, and it seems like such a simple thing. Don't beat someone when they're already down. Why are you throwing another punch when someone's already on the floor? But it's something, unfortunately, that's the what's the reasoning behind something.
You know, as easy as in the old days, somebody go home and beat their wife and their kids, okay, or you kick the dog, or you. Well, I remember when I was in elementary school, there was one girl came to the school. There's so much racial tension all the time. But we was always like white against black. But this one girl, for some reason, they decided to pick on her. Oh, man, called her every kind of name and stink weed and stink bomb. And for us, you know, me and my boy Gregory, we were like, damn, man, unbelievable cruelty toward this girl. And we never could understand it. Like, she never did anything to anybody. And one time they had done the school the carport in a different way. And I was running out of the school. I don't know what grade I was in, 5th grade, 4th grade. I was running you know, you get out of school, you take it off, you run. And I ran right into this new pole that they had put there. Boom, it knocked me out. Bam, I laid on the ground. I was knocked out. Everybody stepped over me. They were going to where they were. This girl stayed, and her mama. I remember they're the only people I had seen had a car that was more raggedy than the car. My daddy, we always had the raggediest cars anywhere. They had the raggedy white car, and the girl in her, I never knew her name, you know. I mean, I don't remember her name, because then we didn't really socially, you know, this was what it was. But the mama drove me to my house, and then it was segregated. So if you had somebody white bring you somewhere, people in my neighborhood was like, man, you in trouble. And the lady was so nice. The mama was so nice. Called me baby. What you need, baby? You know, took me home. And I reflect on her. I don't even know why. I start to think about her. Just why were people so mean to her? And it goes with childhood, you know, and it's just, for some reason, she had freckles, her hair looked a certain way, you know, they call her a witch or whatever. I don't know, stupidity that they were doing. We of course, were not in any position to be participating in none of that. But it's just, you want to ameliorate anxiety. You don't want your anxiety to take your anxiety out on somebody who will give you more anxiety. So it's easy to go kick your pet or do something that, you know, because if you kick the wrong person, you're gonna be much more anxious at the end of that exchange. You know, that's why we do it. A big country go jump on a little bitty country, man. You know, that's a waste of firepower.
Well, and I'm also sorry that you hit that the image of you hitting your head in that pole. That Wynton, that's
hey,
not
let me tell you something. My mama used to always tease me and say, boy, you lost your mind when you ran into that pole. So whenever she'd be messing with me about, I didn't hit it, I ran into it like boom. I forgot that, you know, I was so used to running out.
Of course.
That's life. It was a good wake-up call, though. I had to lie to all my friends and say some dudes that jumped on me. Man, they jumped on me over on Taylor Street. Like,
you should see the other guy. You
should have saw them. Oh, yeah, you can't tell somebody something like that. I ran into a pole. No.
Well, I also wanted to bring up, you brought up Jelly Roll Morton, and we have the concert from the Vault today. If everyone tuning in after this wants a really great concert to go watch and listen to, we released from the Vault today. It was a 2017 concert with the Jazz Lincoln Center Orchestra and Wynton Marsalis, and it's the fantastic Mr. Jelly Lord. So it's a really great concert with never before heard arrangements of tunes like King Porter Stomp, Jungle Blues, Black Bottom Stomp, and the Pearls. So I don't know if that was a really fantastic concert. I don't know if you want to speak a bit about.
It was great. You know, yeah, a concert with our younger musicians playing. Isaiah Thompson played. I think we have Micah Thomas playing all kinds of piano. We had Church Swing. He was playing all kinds of piano. I'm trying to remember all of who we had playing.
It was a lot of people in here together too. It's a fantastic concert.
And they were playing on such a high level. Our younger musicians came up and played all kinds of piano. and it was great to see them tackle as Joe Winhart played. And we rewrote arrangements. I don't think we played the Pearl because that was my arrangement, and I did it too late. So we never played that one. But I know I looked down and I saw India Owens' name in our list. I don't know if she's listening. She is an unbelievable. India plays with so much feeling, and she teaches with so much feeling. I had done a session on a film about autistic kids, and India came in and played, and her beat and her swing was so heavy. She was swinging the studio, even in a booth. So I want to just shout her out and talk about Rodney Whitaker, the great bassist who I first met in Detroit when he was 15 to 16 years old. Every time I talked to him, he was older than the first time I met him with Marcus Belgrave. And Rodney had called me when he first heard India. I guess she was a young teen too. He said, "Man, we got one out here," and he was not lying about the feeling she plays with. And with Sullivan Fortner was playing another one of the piano. See, I get these thoughts come to me. Sullivan, we call him Church Swing. He was just unbelievably great. So I'm so proud of all my young musicians play on such a level. Like for me, just to see India's name made me happy, because of the depth of the beat that she plays with and how soulful she is teaching kids and just how the level of reality of her playing. She plays with a great deal of reality. And just also the pride I have in all of them. Aaron Deal also played on it. He's great. Sullivan
Foster as well. Fortner,
yeah. Well, yeah. Aaron Deal is on it. He's fantastic. Was in EE. Has done all kind of great things with Cecile McLaurin Salvant. I want to shout also my homeboy Jonathan Baptiste out. I see him out doing everything from Kenner, Louisiana. I don't know if somebody even get up out of Kenner. He actually is from Lincoln Manor. Woo, they countryer than us. There was that good football teams with yellow and black jerseys and stuff but I love seeing what Jay Batt is doing, and any of our younger musicians. Russell Hall, they were out in the street in the parade. Everything they're doing, I'm so proud of them and them asserting their individuality. And it's a thing that I always would talk about in class as a student. Sometimes they don't want to hear that in the past, about the U.S. Constitution, about rights, about being engaged with the society, about not being afraid of people being mad at you because you express your opinion, even if it's me. It's a point that I make to them. You don't have to agree with me. Be yourself. Find your individuality. If I don't like what you play more of it. I always laugh about Jonathan Baptiste. I always told him I hate that little melodic. I hate that instrument, the harmonic. So at a certain point, I told him, I don't know, he was 17, 18 or something. I said, "Man, I hate that instrument." Then every time I saw him, he started playing it. So, and it's you got to have that type of attitude about stuff.
I was lucky enough to go check out John Batiste did the peaceful protest march with music, and I saw India playing and Russell Hall, and it was Booyah. It was a bunch of people out there. I had this really proud feeling to see all of these, so much of Jazz Lincoln Center out there, just making their voice be heard and playing. They played for 4.5 straight hours, marching through the streets. It was a really beautiful thing to see.
I love them. And I always tell them Jazz at Lincoln Center is a part of what you're doing. You are you before you're Jazz at Lincoln Center. You're jazz above being Jazz at Lincoln Center. You are an American citizen, larger than all that, and you're a citizen of the planet Earth, larger than all of that. This is your time out here. Express yourself. Do your thing. Get out here. Participate. So, yeah, I can't even describe like the kind of pride and the love I have. I see old Joe Saylor out there playing drums. I think about him when he was, all of them. It doesn't matter who they are, everybody. I see Jared Grimes came in and wrote something for us. Just unbelievable virtuosity. And we need all of them out here, and we need them to be free and to do their thing. And it's important to be forceful and to be confident and to express yourself. And you don't have to look around for approval every time you do something from whoever. That's the one thing I insist on with them, why I use the examples I use. So like people who are hard-headed, being hard-headed is a part of achieving your individuality. That you just have to understand where you are in time and space, and make sure you don't make sure you respect your opponent. That's one thing. We look at so many movies that if you don't have real life experience, you don't understand. Sometimes you're looking at something that can't be talked to the way you want to talk. You gotta choose your words a certain way. Sometimes I would talk with my friends, and I'd say, "Don't worry, Just talk to them like you talk to the dudes in your neighborhood, and you're gonna be all right. The ones that you don't really want to mess with, you talk to them like that. Find that level of respect.
Hmm.
So it's.
I mean, I think that that's such a great point. You really, I feel like unlock a different level of respect when you find your individuality in your voice, and you're able to really
Yeah,
say what you mean.
right. And then you're able to respect that in other people and not feel like you're the only one who thinks something.
Mm.
We're all thinking something. We all have beliefs. We're not all willing to pay certain prices for it, which sometimes just common sense.
Mm.
But I think too for another thing I was thinking about when we talk about freedom, I'll never forget the series called Wade in the Water. I love the song Wade in the Water. It's a song about freedom, but I love the 1994 NPR series. If anybody can get to that, whew, Bernice Reagan was for real. I mean, just Sweet Honey in the Rock. Oh, what they did in that. Wade in the Water, 1994, public radio. Get to that series. I remember when I was trying to learn how to write stuff, I studied that a lot. I go back to the resource material and listen to all the early groups and everything, but this was like kind of contemporary music curated with a lot of great information. And it's a lifetime of study went into that. So
I'm gonna have to Google that after this. That
oh,
sounds
yeah.
sounds very interesting.
I think it's 26 hours. I'm not sure. It could be 24.
I hope it's an extra 2 hours because I feel like I'm
know,
gonna love it. I want that extra 2 hours after I'm done with it.
I'm telling you, it's something.
And I wanted to bring up the wonderful Freddie Cole who graced us every year with his presence at Dizzy's. If you can speak on him a bit, he just passed, but what a force and what a legacy he left behind.
Freddie just pure soul, like that kind of generation of musicians. Class, always clean, know all the songs, full of history and feeling. Just the kind of warmth and intelligence. We lost so many people in this last time. Not all to COVID. And I was thinking about Freddie. Was receiving a lot of text messages about him, and anybody who booked him, we would book him, so we loved him. Just working with him he was always in Dizzy's, and he just was always soulful. He's just like always a kind of go-to, where he just come and we think about Jimmy Heath too. Before we started the lockdown, we were supposed to do a big thing for Jimmy in the Rose Hall, and I was just thinking, man, one of the first things we got to do when we get back is we got to get back and collect Jimmy and talk about him. So yeah, it's just the kind of soul and feeling warmth they had. Every time when we lose them, some more of us got to step up with that same feeling. We ain't gonna have the knowledge, but we can have the feeling.
And that feeling says a lot when you're able to carry someone's feeling and soul. I know that's, and you pass that down. And
make that be an objective, not just buying something. Make that be an objective, and that's part of what we were talking about in the beginning. If your objective on a bandstand is to make somebody else sound better, and it is to give them space to play, y'all gonna always be a lot happier. Then it might take them a little while to understand, wow, that's your objective. I don't have to play all night because I'm gonna get another opportunity. It's like when you're playing ball with somebody who never passed a basketball. When you get it, you're gonna shoot it. But now if they distribute it, you get it, hey, you don't mind giving it back because you think I'm gonna give it back. I might get it again. So you go from survival of the fittest, dog eat dog, to playing ball and passing and sharing. The Golden State Warriors have been showing us for the last years what sharing the ball is about. Come on now.
Something that you said last Wednesday that really sat with me that I've been thinking about is that story about your brother when you were talking to your mom about, we need more food, and then he put a bit of his food onto your plate and goes, we have more food now.
Now we have more, right? You put it as a joke. Oh man, can I get some more? Now we have more. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that was old Branford. And we call him Bookie in those days. Book.
Where did Book come from? Where does that?
Branford, Book. I don't know. We just something. Everybody have a nickname there. Then not like people have nicknames too, though. Still a lot of good nicknames out there.
We have a couple more minutes. I wanted to get to some questions as well. Sure. There was, how do you recommend people balancing practicing and playing for fun?
Practicing is playing for fun. So when you practice, make it fun. Play dynamics. Play every exercise like it's a piece of music.
Mm.
Do your long tones like that. Do your technical exercise. Pay attention to dynamics. Play it in all the keys. Make it fun, challenging for you. It's like some people, they want to work out. Some people get to a workout and they make it fun. They challenge themselves, make up variations on things. So don't separate the practice from just playing. And once that practicing becomes fun, every time you look at your horn, you're going to have a good time. Or your
Fantastic.
instrument. If it's not a horn, your instrument, even if you sing.
And talking about trumpets, what are good trumpet solos to transcribe, and should you write your own transcriptions out?
I'm a fan of learning stuff without writing it down first. And I like when you start learn the solos that are kind of, you have the easiest time to play, that have a lot of nuance. Like I always thought with John Faddis, we talk about, man, how did you ever think to try to take a Dizzy solo off the record? Dizzy's playing is so difficult. So you want to graduate to that kind of way of playing. But it's always good to start with some early Miles, early Louis Armstrong, 1920s, hot fives, hot sevens. Not that that's easy to play. It's very difficult to play. But playing with a lot of nuances, and then also just who you like. So many great musicians have played, and we all like different things. If you find yourself attracted to a musician's personality and the way that they play, learn their solo, and learn to sing the solo, and then sing it enough so that you know it, and then play it on your horn the way you sang it. Because so much information will never be written down. The way they scoop a note here, what's a feeling of joy, how they get sorrow in a certain note, a little scrape on something, a little turn right here, laying back. Learn stuff by ear. I'm a big believer in the natural hearing is going to be much more sophisticated and more definitive than anything you write down. You're only writing the surface of a note. So that's my suggestion. Learn things by ear and learn them from memory, and listen to them so much that you can't help but know them. I once heard Tony Williams sing the entire Kind of Blue record. We were on a drive through Japan, and I swear to you, he sang every note of every solo on the entire record. So that's how serious he was about playing.
That must have been something to hear.
It was unbelievable. And in general, the education that he would bring many times, because he studied all the drummer styles. Did you see him sit down to the drums and play? What he learned from Elvin Jones? What he learned from Art Blakey? What he learned from Buddy Rich? What he learned from Alan Dawson? What he learned from hearing Philly Joe Jones play? And he was so specific. What Max Roach did and how he would finish a phrase is a masterclass, just a masterclass in the type of dedication required for mastery.
Wow, thank you for that. And I want to, before we wrap up, a couple of things. Wynton will be a special guest on the Washington Post IG Live this Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. So you should check that out. That's going to be a fun one. And I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. As I mentioned in the beginning, we're going to take a little bit of a hiatus here, a little summer hiatus of Wednesdays with Wynton. We have a ton of really exciting programming that we'll be announcing soon. And as Wynton mentioned before, the month of July, we'll be talking all about freedom, the spirit of freedom, and in all different ways, all different genres of freedom. So hope you guys will check back. You can go to jazz.org and follow us on our socials to see what is coming up. And Wynton, anything else you'd like to say before we wrap up?
No, Maddie, I'm not going to see you here, but we're going to have a lot more meetings this month. So
I'm looking forward to that.
You saying that now? Let's see. Much love to all of y'all. Thank you so much. Let's handle our business.
Thanks, Wynton.
Right. Yes, indeed. Maddie.
Bye.
All right.